Hey everybody, it's Professor Kokino. So we're going to look at Chapter 10, the Internet and Social Media. Certainly a topic that is dear to your heart. A short history of the Internet. One thing was for defense, the idea that the Internet could be used for transferring military information. Another one was a kind of global village where all computers could kind of talk to each other. So I think we have a little bit of both certainly going on here. And obviously without computer, you wouldn't have the Internet. So you have to look a little bit at the history of the computer. In the mid-1880s, Charles Babbage produced a computer that used a whole bunch of cards with punch holes in them to kind of coordinate and manage data. Colossus was the first electronic digital computer that used binary code. Binary code means that all the information is contained within streams of just zeros and ones, or ons and offs. So imagine every letter of the alphabet having a certain on and off code, and now all of the information is all digitized in this kind of binary code. And then we have IBM, which was really the kind of revolution of the personal computer, being able to bring that to your home and not having this monster Colossus computer that needed rooms of space and tons of cooling and everything else to do a simple calculation like 2 plus 2 is 4. So the IBM personal computer. 1962, we have ARPA and the idea of this military command where all these computers were kind of hooked up together, and there was a redundancy of information where the transfer of information could go from one point to the other. And if that point was cut off, it could take a different route and still get there. So this idea of a kind of web of computers talking to each other, and if there was some type of nuclear attack, the information would still be able to get through. So this information would be able to kind of detour from one place to another, and because there were so many computers connected, it would still get through even if some of those computers went offline. Okay, an interesting story of the Apple IIe, right? So Apple was a kind of startup company, garage company producing computers, and what they did was they gave a lot of computers away to schools, so that made them popular, obviously, right? You learned on it, you like to stay on that platform. The other thing was that because they gave them away to schools, at MIT in 1979, there was a program written that was a spreadsheet which combined the technology of word processing with a calculator. Mitch Caper. So it was his final thesis presentation, and it was this wonderful kind of ledger, right, called VisiCalc, and it only ran on the Apple IIe. So the idea was if you wanted to run it, you needed to buy an Apple IIe, and Apple sales went through the roof. They reinvested all that capital and came up with great innovations like the mouse and the graphical user interface, in other words, icons on the screen. And the rest is history, right? The IBM, the Macintosh, not the IBM, the Macintosh computer in 1984 was made possible by this. So we have local area networks. If you're at FIT and you're sitting in one of the labs, you're working on a LAN or a local area network. There's also wide area networks that are wider. They can be worldwide, actually. So you might have a large corporation that has a wide area network that you would have to log into to get work done or something like that. So internet service providers, so we have lots of them where basically their idea is they provide this connection, this hosted connection to the World Wide Web. Okay, World Wide Web uses a certain kind of language or a certain kind of syntax. We all know, HTTP, the URL that we, need to get from, information from a certain site, and fitnyc.edu, that's the idea of the syntax. Okay, browsers, search engines, all kind of searching around the internet and cataloging all of these sites so that when you go to Google and you type in a search term, it's going to immediately find all of these different sites for you and sift through it. Frustrations with social media, lots of frustrations, right? It's not perfect. It's being always fine-tuned. But the idea is that there is an evolution going on here. So it takes us then to the... But we all use it, right? Everybody's got, a Facebook account or YouTube channel, and we're all checking in on our social media, maybe a little bit too much, right? 2.5 hours a day engaged with social media. And then how true is it? This idea that, you have your representation of your image, your brand, your personal kind of look on your Facebook page, but is it really you, or is it just a kind of idolized front that you put up there? And, how true is your social media? And then how true are you? Is it really you, or is it a fake account? Is it a Finsta? There's all kinds of psychological issues. People who are obsessed with their online image, obsessed with other people's online images, and either stalking or maybe being depressed about what you look like compared to other people. Facebook envy, social isolation. Obviously, going into that virtual world instead of actually interacting in real life. and lots of kind of issues with mental health and just using up too much time online. So there is really no audience for social media. There are just users. So what happens is that we're all empowered. We're all our own broadcasters. You can, produce your own media. Whereas years ago you had to hire someone and it cost you a lot of money. Today you can shoot with your iPhone, you can edit on your iPhone, you can upload with your iPhone, you can monitor your channels with your iPhone, you can reply to comments with your iPhone, and you're basically a single person doing all of the stuff that the networks were doing years ago. So we have this idea of digital natives, people who were born with the internet, with that phone in their hand right away. And like all of our mass media, there's been this concentration of ownership, a globalization, an audience fragmentation, a commercialism. How many times, I notice YouTube, more and more commercials I have to sit through when I'm trying to, watch certain feeds. You're always kind of bombarded with that commercial factor. And then Marshall McLuhan, who wrote about mass media, he was very optimistic, TV being the brightest thing in the house. But, the idea that maybe there's some bad things that come with it too, right? Surveillance capitalism. So the idea that someone's always watching, right? Why am I seeing this ad? It's because I searched for this term, and that's why now I'm getting delivered ads that are related to this. So my privacy is at risk here. A lot of different kind of new terms, right? Crowdfunding, slackism, fake news. Is it true, or is it internet, or is it photoshopped? So the idea of the power of the internet, and also understanding that all of it is not really regulated and gate-kept the way it might be. So lots of pitfalls and things like pornography, child pornography. The idea that your privacy is at risk. Your property, your intellectual property, can also be easily kind of copied and reused in different ways. So pirated software and things like that is another big problem with internet use. Identity theft, right? You gotta worry about filling out some kind of form and worrying where it's going. Is it safe to bank online? So lots of things going on that need the government to help us with regulations and controls. Fair use, is it fair to use certain things that you find on the internet? You want to be careful, obviously, when you're writing your term paper, that you are using original material. Certainly use the internet for research and get an idea of, your topic, and you can make sure that you cite those sources, but don't do something like copy and paste from a website or hire someone to write your term paper for you. These kind of things are plagiarism, and they're certainly not going to be good for, your online reputation, and also just for your, learning, so you're really cheating yourself. Again, we have this idea that someone is always watching. Someone could be intercepting your data, surveying what's going on with your data. How much privacy do you really have? And then this opt-in, opt-out, right? So where you would decide whether or not you want to receive by opting in, and then being also able to say, what, I'm done receiving. I don't want that newsletter anymore. I'm opting out. Okay, and then lots of new technology, so things like being able to find your keys by putting a chip on them, and then knowing where they are by using your phone. Augmented reality, putting yourself in a virtual environment. Internet of Things, so I've got a beautiful new oven and I can control it with my phone. I can see the temperature, I can set the time. There's even a camera in there, so I can look at the food and see how it's doing. Computing in the cloud, so we don't need to really have these huge hard drives anymore. All of the stuff, if you want to edit video, which are really big files, you can have them up in the cloud. Facial recognition technology, you've got that on your phone. Instead of a password, it looks at you and sees that it's you. Everybody has a unique kind of fingerprint in their face. The clickstream, so understanding your history and how you kind of surf the web and go from one site to the other. Cookies, these are things that internet content creators will put on your computer, so that the next time you go to the site, it could be a good thing, and will load faster. It knows about you too. It knows that you visited and when you visited and how many times you visited. So cookies are okay, but the next step might be spyware, where something is really looking at things that you don't know that it's looking at, and so it could be finding things like your passwords and your social security number and things like that. And then we have this idea of the access. So, there's a kind of digital divide where some of us have better internet connections, faster internet connections. Some people have no internet connection, right? So in order to use the internet, you have to go over, to a library or a friend's house or something like that. So there's this kind of divide between have and have-nots with technology, with access, with knowledge, with high speed. The idea of a must carry too, network neutrality. So this is the idea that you could get information from any host, that everybody has to have the same things. And obviously in some countries this is not the case. So if you lived in China, you might have restrictions on the internet sites that you could visit. So the media literacy things in this chapter, again, are this kind of compilation of things about data and your right to it and your right to privacy. So certainly an interesting chapter, and something that, like many of the chapters we looked at, but I think more so with this one, is it's really developing and changing and growing every day. So you really have to kind of stay on top of it. And it's very exciting actually to be a part of it, and be alive today, where you're really being able to witness all these great innovations and changes and technologies. So things that used to have to pay for, now you get free. So I remember when I first got Microsoft Office, it was so expensive, and like, oh my God, today you can use Google Docs and use it online for free. So hope you enjoyed the chapter, and the readings in there, and hopefully you doing well with your term project and term paper.